from the NR Hour Sports Show, alongside with one of my co-hosts, Vedant Gupta from Global Kid Media, and we're joined by a special guest, Jeremy Kelly, former NFL wide receiver. He also played arena football and central football in the CFL too, and now he works with the Buffalo Bills. We're going to get to all of that. This is episode 722 for the NR Hour Show. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Jeremy, for joining the show. It's truly an honor. I've seen your work. You do great things with the Bills, and obviously you had a good career too. But first of all, how are you and your family doing so far in this tough situation?
Doing well, man. Doing well. We're defrosting up here in Buffalo. We finally got nice weather, about 65 and sunny. Yeah, you said, you mentioned career, right? I don't call it much of a career. I was more so, what would I refer to it as, man? I was a journeyman for sure.
No, but what I mean by career is,
what I mean by career is, I'm teasing. They always let me sit my bags down just long enough to get a cup of coffee, man. They sit back. So, no, it was great. Yeah, I've been able to travel a little bit around the country, play a lot of ball, and it was certainly good and led me to my role today. So.
So I'm gonna let Vedant here start off here first.
Yeah, man. I want to first of all know, with you playing for so long and now kind of making a huge adjustment to a different side of things with the Bills, what's the major difference, really, as a whole after playing? What's life been like for you?
Much of what I just alluded to. Having been, kind of had a journeyman career and played in the CFL, played in the AFL, bounced around NFL team to NFL team, different camps and whatnot, back and forth to leagues. I think I was in 9-10 different cities in a matter of 6-7 years.
Wow.
So for me, there's a silver lining to that. And that was, I was always in transition.
Right.
So I was afforded the opportunity to kind of prepare for what came next while playing at the same time. A lot of guys will say, hey, it's everything in on ball, which I absolutely was when it came to training, when it came to preparing myself for an opportunity. But at the same time, I had to leverage my abilities and know that, hey, this ain't gonna last forever. And so I was able, once I was offered a position, I was able to kind of step into the role, but have a certain level of business acumen and already having been accustomed to what the corporate side of the world was like. And I think that those experiences throughout the course of my career really prepared me to kind of make a seamless transition, which fortunately enough just happened to be right back in the NFL, working in a space where I'm dealing with players and serving our men that play the game. So I've been fortunate.
So for you, while growing up, when did you start realizing that you wanted to play the game of football? And did you have like any role models growing up? Like, who was your favorite? Who was that one person you had looking up to in the NFL while growing up?
Right. Yeah, man. So for me, I can remember the day that happened, man. My best friend that lived down the street from me, we were, I don't know, 7, 8 years old. And, you go outside, you play after school. Well, got to a point where, come summer, fall, he was going to football practice. Right. So I had nobody to hang out with. And I think one day I went to my mom, asked if I could play football. She took me over to registration. And I can remember the first day I put these pads on and came back from practice. I was like, yeah, this is what I wanted to do.
Nice.
But ironically enough, being born and raised right here in Buffalo, man, I caught a lot of heat as a kid, man. My favorite team was the Dolphins.
Oh.
So Bills-Dolphins rivalry was huge. And my guy was Dan Marino. Big Dan Marino fan growing up. Dude was, just that guy. He was Dan the Man, right? I think I probably liked his nickname. And so that was my guy. That's who I watched. And until this day, I think he's still the purest passer to ever play the game. The way that dude stood in the pocket and slung that ball, man, I mean, he's an icon. He's an icon at the position of quarterback, which is why he's got a gold jacket, right? So
yeah.
Yeah. But I caught a lot of heat for being a Dolphins fan growing up. But
oh man.
Yeah. But you quickly learn, man. I make a joke, tongue in cheek, and I say, I'm a fan of whoever signing my check.
Right.
In this business, you got to be, right. So that's kind of how it goes nowadays, man.
Yeah.
Man, I want to know, was it quarterback for you at first before you got into wide receiver? Excuse me. When you look up to somebody in the game, that's who you want to play like. That's who you want to be like. So
Yeah.
was it always quarterback for you? When did wide receiver kind of come
You
up?
know, it's funny you asked that question. So growing up, I always played running back and then eventually got to quarterback. I was a lefty and I could throw the ball 70 plus yards. And so I thought, you know, it was the era of the early 2000s when Michael Vick
Yeah.
started to come into play. And so I wanted to be the next Vick, right? I thought, hey, problem was you know, my hands and feet were the same size they are now at age 13. I couldn't take 2 steps to hand the ball off without tripping over my own shoelace. So I could throw the ball a mile, but couldn't step 3 yards. And I just wasn't a quarterback, right? Long story short, my best friend's dad, who I would consider a father figure to me, Damaris Johnson, actually played for the Miami Dolphins. And he came to me one day. We had already had a quarterback in high school who was going to be the quarterback in high school. And he said, Jay, we're going to make you a receiver. At this point, I was probably about 6'4", 6'3", on my way. And he taught me how to play the position. And he taught me how to run routes. He taught me how to do these things, right? And so, you know, I was a big football fan, so I knew about the Randy Mosses. I knew about the Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching NFL Hard Knocks when that stuff came out on TV. I was watching the Jerry Rice specials, and I just got obsessed with it. I mean, I probably watched that Jerry Rice special that was on NFL Network 1,000 times. Wow. And really just became obsessed with the position once I committed to it. And that was it, you know. So somewhere around the time of sophomore, junior year of high school, started to grow into my body, started to commit to training, and you know, everything worked out, man. Sure enough, some college teams started coming along and knocking. I was a bit of a late bloomer, you know. I didn't start until my senior year of high school, and you know, everything kind of played out as mentioned.
Mm-hmm. So for you, you went to Maine University. But when I asked you about your draft process, obviously you were undrafted. And how tough was it not being drafted in the league? And obviously you went undrafted, and then you didn't start right away in the NFL. You went to a different league. I think it was a CFL first. And so take me back to the draft process first, and then how did the process work, and what led you to go to CFL first?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So University of Maine is, you know, we refer to Maine and Black Bears up there, the land of the misfits, right? Maine is a cold, dark place way up north, colder than Buffalo. A lot of people ask, how'd you end up there? School was free, right? So, you know, I was afforded an opportunity to have a scholarship. They had great football. And at the time, the University of Maine had the most players in the NFL, out of a AA program. And I think maybe the most drafted at that point as well. And so out of a AA program. And so they were known for good football. And to me, hey, this is a place that's where I'm trying to get to, right? Is the NFL. And so went to Maine. Career didn't pan out as intended, right? Everybody has aspirations to go and to be an All-American and to go and to, you know, have these accolades and stats. And I was primed up to be the next guy, coming in at 6'5", 215-pound freshman, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But I had to learn how to play the game at a faster speed. I had to learn how to process at a faster speed, and it took a little time for me. You know, eventually I caught on, but had a really unorthodox career at Maine, man. And I actually left school playing defensive end.
Wow.
You know, I wasn't seeing the time that I wanted to at receiver. There was a lot of inconsistencies. And, you know, I make this joke to this day. A lot of people, you know, 0.001% make the league. Well, I certainly beat those odds because I signed more NFL contracts than I had college touchdowns. That's not supposed to happen. I think I might have had more sacks than I had college touchdowns. That's not supposed to happen. And so for me, what got me into the process, the draft process, if you will, or even had teams looking at me, was the fact that I had a ton of special teams tape, and I was a football player. You know, I didn't want to be seen as just one position, as a receiver or that. And so I wanted to be known as a football player. I was a special teams captain. I was respected on my team. And I knew that could be a ticket into the league. Pro days went well. You know, I kind of blew the roofs off the doors in terms of the measurables and things of that nature that, that scouts, quite frankly, look at, right? The vert and the jumps and your height and your arm length and the hand size and all those things. I've been blessed with those intangibles. But when it came down to it, 2011, the NFL lockout hits.
Yeah.
So this buzz that I had created after my pro days, all that went silent, and so for that summer, again, God works in mysterious ways, man. That extended period of time allowed me to train right here at home with Ryan Fitzpatrick, Stevie Johnson, the Lee Evans. All these guys were right here in my backyard. I was very fortunate enough to live, 10, 15 minutes from the Buffalo Bills Stadium,
right,
and to know a handful of these cats through training. And so I spent the summer with the Buffalo Bills wideouts, DBs, receivers, and really so much so that I almost got to know the playbook a little bit just from being around them so often. But to see how pros worked, to see how, the nuances of the game, and to learn how pro quarterbacks think, et cetera, et cetera. So it was very beneficial to me. Fast forward though, as mentioned, you spend so much time training and you can only lift so many weights and run so many hills. Fortunately enough for me, the Canadian Football League called and said, "Hey, JK, you're still available." And I jumped at the opportunity to go play about an hour north here at the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL, which was an amazing year. I think we were one game shy of the Grey Cup. So it was a great start for my career. I couldn't have been happier to play close to home and to have the opportunity, man. It was, and I love the Canadian game. It's very receiver friendly, that's for sure.
I want to know about, a lot of guys talk about the mental side of the game.
Mhm.
With you moving around so much throughout your career, coming up to the NFL and then maybe going back down to the AFL or CFL, that's a toll on you mentally. How did you handle those things? And
Yeah, so that's a great question, man. That's a really great question. So I think for me, that made it easier for me eventually. I was always able to pick up playbooks. In college, we probably had one of the more advanced playbooks. We constantly had changes and route adjustments and site adjustments and things throughout the course of the season on a week-to-week basis, which I'm not sure many college programs maybe did. We were in a spread offense. You had to know every position, inside, outside slot. As a bigger receiver, I was always cued into protections, had to come down and block D ends, or I was utilized to block linebackers. So I kind of was used to having a lot of responsibility. So when I went to Canada, I was actually able to pick up the playbook fairly quickly because I was used to kind of a spread offense. Right. Now those waggle motions and the crisscross and before the line of scrimmage, that stuff, that was a little different, right? And that same thing. But having had that experience in Canada, that carried over into arena where you have that same type of waggle motion and whatnot. So by the time I got back to the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts in 2013, I had seen a variety of different playbooks already.
Yeah.
So other than terminology or scheme, it really, there's only so much football you can do, man. There's only so many routes that are in the playbook, right? It's just a matter of where they're coming from, who's running it. And, so it really played to my advantage a little bit, and it helped me learn. So
follow up, have you ever run into the goalpost? Because in Canada, they have it like in the middle of the field.
Yeah, no, thank God. No, I never did that, man. I'm sure I probably had a couple close calls. I know one time I almost ran into a dugout at where we played at in Hamilton, the Ivor Wynne Stadium, which is kind of an iconic stadium in the CFL. They had dugout, almost like baseball dugouts for where on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. And, so sometimes you catch a ball and you're still running, and you got to be careful because you might go down into that dugout there. But no, never hit the goalpost, man. Fortunately enough, that'd been bad news. Golly, I seen some of those highlights. That's not good. That's not good at all.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you though. I had a lot of players on the show that moved from team to team, and I always love to ask this question to everyone, like whoever moved to different teams. So for you, obviously, you moved around the pretty much the whole world. But what have you learned as a player when changing teams, and obviously your family, and what is it like just learning each culture, each personality, each country you moved to, especially Arena Central Football League? What did you learn as a player?
Well, as I was I was a young guy moving around, didn't have a family, no wife, no kids, nothing like that. So, I was just kind of taking care of myself. Um, but I think you learn about who you are as not only a player but a man as well, right? Who you identify with on the team, who you gravitate towards, right? Walking into a locker room can be intimidating at times, right? Because you have a group of guys that have been together, they've been battle tested together. Some teams have been together for a long time, some teams not so much. But the fastest way to earn respect is to go out and perform and do things right and to establish yourself as a professional, right? And so, I often tell the story. And for me, my rookie year in the NFL, even though I was 2 years removed from college because I had spent a season in Canada, I had spent a season in the Arena Football League. I got to the NFL and I was there before the rookies that were drafted.
Right.
So when the rookie class actually showed up, even though it was technically my first year in the league, I wasn't viewed as a rookie.
Right.
So I kind of got out of the little, not the hazing, right? But all the little rookie gimmicks and all the stuff that they do, right? And so, kind of worked out that way. But hey, I don't know if you guys might edit this out. I got someone knocking on my door and I don't want them to keep knocking.
Okay. I can edit this out. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Pause. Sorry. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I hope you can edit that out. Hope you can cut that out. So as I was saying, Indianapolis, I kind of avoided all of that, which, but again, I carried myself as a professional. I was used to it. It wasn't new to me. I was kind of already at that point adjusted and acclimated to adapting a new locker room. So.
I've heard some stories of some dinners and some steak dinners and stuff like that where the check's pretty big. So I'm glad you escaped those.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that always catches guys off guard. In Indy, we had a first round pick, when we go out to dinner at Ruth Chris, real nice steakhouse. And somebody hands the bill and say, hey, everybody thank so-and-so, he's picking up the tab. And that guy's face turns beet red and he's not, all of a sudden he ain't happy. It's his first time. He got a couple of M's in the bank now since he just signed, but at the same time, that's a shock of seeing a number that large when you've never had that amount of money. I think I'd probably be mad too. So I guess, looking back, it's not such a bad situation to pay, a couple thousand when you got a couple of M's,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I want to know if they're traveling to all these different places. Obviously, you're a professional, you're there to do business, but in the off season, you've got time to explore, look at some different things. What was your favorite place to play as far as a city?
As far as a city experience, I would say my time spent with the San Jose SaberCats, 2015, in Santa Clara, California. So being a kid from Buffalo, man, waking up every day and it's 75 and sunny outside, you're right there on PCH, the Pacific Coast Highway route, Route 1, not too far from Santa Cruz, not too far from San Francisco. Like I said, you waking up every day, putting a t-shirt and shorts on, it's kind of nice. And we had a lot of success that year as well. So I really enjoyed my time out there in California. It was the first time I got to live in Cali as opposed to just visit. So I enjoyed that from a city standpoint. But there were some other places from a club and the experience within that club and organization. There was other places that I truly valued for sure.
So before I want to ask you this before we move on to your career with the Bills as a manager and working with them. So I want to ask you, looking back at your career, how grateful are you that you got to play the game that you love and then get to experience different leagues? How grateful are you to be able to play the game that you love and still be involved with it in a different side of it?
Yeah, man. I mean. Like I alluded to before, man, it was really a blessing, and timing is everything. I had started that 2015 season, I had started to think about my transition and realizing, I was dealing with some medical issues that, hey, I can't keep doing this much longer, which was unique for me because I'd never had any type of medical issue, never been to a hospital, never had injuries. I was very fortunate in that sense. But what I was dealing with was really hindering my training and ability to play. And with a little bit of faith and sure enough, my body started to respond. And all of a sudden I get picked up by the Chicago Bears. Well, then I get cut by the Chicago Bears. And now I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Hey, I'm done. I'm gonna wash my hands with this. And then all of a sudden the Canadian football team comes again and I sign a contract with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And I'm thinking, now the, medical situation pops up again. I'm thinking, man, I can't keep running my head into this wall. Right. But on the inside, as a player, you want to get out all the ifs, ands, or buts, and you want to make sure that when you say you're done, and in 30 years down the road, when you sit at the kitchen table with your wife and kids, you want to look back and say, "Hey, I laid it all out there." And so, at this point, I was living in California. I decided to move back home and say, I'm going one last turn. I'm gonna go one last shot at this thing, man. And as I come home, I'm taking advantage of the resources that the NFL offered. And transitioning for the guys that are, making their move away, career symposiums, etc., executive development programs, and the phone rings, and it was the Buffalo Bills, and there was a gentleman by the name of Marlon Kerner that said, "Hey, JK, I want you to come in and interview for a role." I'm thinking, yeah, I didn't apply for anything. What you mean interview for a role, right? But I was very fortunate. Again, I'm getting back, you're asking me what I was grateful for. I was very fortunate that somebody saw the things that I was doing, or somebody saw those things that I valued in the game, to give me a call and say, "Hey, I think you might be the guy for this gig," because I did have a heart to serve players and a heart to lead this game better than I found it as I do today. So again, had I not come home to train and to go ahead and say, "I'm gonna give this one last go," I'm not sure I would have gotten that phone call. I'm not sure I'd be sitting here today, working right here for the hometown team. So I couldn't be more grateful, man, to answer your question. I really could not.
So just real quick, I know you made the most, Mark, in the Arena Football League. So I want to ask you, what was your favorite memorable game as a Arena Football League player?
Ooh, most memorable game, huh? Okay. Tell you. My birthday was June 9th, 2012, and we had a game against the Cleveland Gladiators that was televised nationally on NFL Network.
Wow.
And I had a pretty big game. I think I had 3 or 4 touchdowns, and but more importantly, I caught a record-breaking touchdown from our quarterback Tommy Grady, which that was with a G, not Tom Brady, Tom Grady. Greatest quarterback. Shout out to Tommy. I love you, brother. Tommy's taller than me. His cat's about 6'8". He played at Oklahoma. Wow. And I think he's got probably nearly every passing record in the AFL. So I was fortunate to play a great quarterback, but I think it was a single season touchdown record, which was like 50 something, I think it was. And so I remember that, but as I mentioned, NFL Network was at the game, and I remember I blew my mother a kiss on camera. And she was way back east here, and I was playing out in Salt Lake City, Utah. So have that be all happen kind of on a birthday. It was kind of a perfect night, man. And we had a great team out there, man. It was a really, really successful team. Yeah.
G in Grady stands for GOAT, right? That's
right. Yeah. He would like that. He would like that a lot.
That's the Tom Brady, man. Who's the real GOAT? Come on now.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, once you're off this interview, go ahead, look up Tommy Grady in the NFL.
I might reach out to him to come on the show. So
player, no doubt.
100%, man. Let's talk about connections for a minute. I mean, you talk about this phone call you're receiving from Buffalo. That probably has a lot to do with the connections you're making with just being in the NFL, being in the AFL, being in the CFL. You're meeting people constantly. How important have some of the connections you made throughout your career helped you down the line?
Yeah, so another great question. If I were going to give advice to any young players that are coming in the league, there would be a few different things I would say, right? There'd be 2 things, right? I would say leverage the shield. Utilize the access that this unique fraternity can offer you and the doors that it'll open. Right. That's number 1. Number 2, everybody says it's who you know type of thing. Well, I like to use the phrase, your network is your net worth. The people that you keep in your circle, and in this realm of sport, the NFL, it's a very closed circle, or I should say professional football. It's a very closed circle. It's a very small one, right? Coaches go to different teams. This coach coached with this guy in college. He moved up to the league. He brought him, it's a very closed circle that is kind of a 6 degree of separation, 3 degrees of separation, where everybody usually knows everybody. But the opportunity here, again, I'm gonna go back to when I was to growing up right here in Buffalo. The guy who gave me a call, I've known since I was in high school.
Wow.
Now, we didn't have an existing relationship on a day-to-day or month-to-month. It was just, if I happened to cross paths with them, I saw, hey, how you doing, man? Maybe we get lunch, this and that. But in the world of social media or Facebook and everybody, people can see you doing the right things, man. So if you're making yourself visible, if you're investing in the work that you're trying to operate in, the space or the arena that you want to operate in, that will get noticed. So for these young players that come into the league, now is the time to build these connections, to leverage this access, to leverage the network while you're playing, because you're one play away.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not exaggeration. You're one play away. So fortunately, I was able to do that. I kind of always saw the NFL as a launch pad. Certainly, everybody's got aspirations to go ahead and get that second, third contract, right? But I think the guys that get it sooner, the guys that really understand that, hey, there's a lot more here than just what the field offers, those are the guys that we see going on to do great and successful things off the field once they're done playing.
So I want to ask you about your career now with the Buffalo Bills. How's it like? What's it like working with that franchise, man, and seeing the history of the Bills? And obviously they're a great team now. And but looking at the past history, you have Andre Reed, Terrell Owens used to play for the Bills, and you got Eric Wood. I had him on the show last month, a couple months back. So what's it like just seeing the Bills' history evolve? With I almost forgot Terman Thompson too, the legendary running back. But what's it like just seeing the Bills' history from the past to now?
Yeah,
and seeing them assemble a great team now.
Yeah, put some respect on my man Therm's name, man. I still think Therm is the greatest all-purpose back to play the game. But it's been an exciting time, man. It really has been. I came into the organization with the McDermott regime, so that was kind of turn of the tide, if you will, right? After a lot of down years or a lot of up and down years. And so to come in and then make the playoffs, and then, that first year, make the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years, regardless of how we got in, you could feel the culture change. You could feel that, hey, this is different than what it was before. Now, I didn't need to be a part of it before. I was around the organization. I was around the players. I could tell what this is different. So it's been a very exciting time in Buffalo. I think a lot of the folks that were here for the 4 Super Bowl years, this city lights up, man. I think we got a glimpse of what it used to be like this past season. So very unfortunate that we couldn't be in the stadium during that time. And it's it's like, I know Bills fans are just chomping at the bit to get up in there, man. But we're looking forward to this season as we're expecting that it should be, hopefully we get back to normal. But whenever we do, it'll be as full as it ever was. So it's just a very, anytime you're with a club that is on the ascension, it's way up. I mean, that's a great thing, right? Because everybody is really rallying right now, So it's not fun to be around it when it's not going so well, right? It doesn't matter what side of the business you're on, right? If you're on the business side, it's harder to sell seats, harder to sell suites, right? But when it's winning, man, everybody wants to be a part of it, right? So it's been a really exciting time. This city, you guys know Bills Mafia, man. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before, the way that these people rally, the way that these people support their team. I don't think, with all the clubs I've been with, and I know social media is a much more prominent thing now. I don't think that there's any team that you see players and fans engaging on this level. And maybe I'm biased, but I don't know, man. It just seems there's something different here in this small market. It's like where there's, these cats ain't off in these lavish neighborhoods. They live next door to you. They live around the block. You're going to run into them at the grocery store, right? So there's just a tie here in Buffalo. It's just a little different. So it's been an exciting 4 years, but certainly an exciting season. And our team is really been a silver lining after, with the whole pandemic going on, man. So it's been a very exciting time to be a part of this.
Like, just a follow up here. I know free agency has been crazy this year. A lot of moves going on, and for you, the Bills made some great additions like Emmanuel Sanders. Now you have on board, and you got Mitchell Trubisky. So what are you most looking forward to seeing this season with the team they have now with the Sanders and Trubisky, and hopefully they add more players to the team?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's two guys I trust in the building is Coach McDermott and Brandon Beane, man. They make the right decisions. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, right? It happened, so they give our coaches the right players to work with. That said, having seen Smoke Brown, who actually was my neighbor, smoke head out, but to replace that with a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, I mean, take that all day. Emmanuel Sanders is talented. We were teammates in Denver. When I tell you this cat can stop on a dime, I mean, it's I'm not sure. He's one of the most explosive athletes I've ever been around. That was a few years back. I think East probably still got it. He did some things down in New Orleans last year, but that man puts his foot in the ground, is changing directions. That's tough for DBs. He's got speed that is going to open a lot of things up for a lot of other receivers. He's going to make plays himself. So, from an offensive standpoint, I mean, Josh is going to have a lot of fun. I think we only got better. So, yeah.
I talked to Mitchell over at the 2019 Pro Bowl when he had the standout season with the Bears. So I'm excited to see what's next for him. There's got to be a favorite for you to work with on the team. If people know my show, I love putting people on the spot.
Yeah, okay. Oh man, I tell you, so I'm not hands-on with the current guys too often, but you get to know them just through being in the building. You get to know them through seeing them on game days and seeing them around, and they're always looking at me like, wait, this cat looks like he plays, but why is he in a suit on game? Who is this guy over here, right? So, a favorite, I don't know that I can say there's any one favorite guy, man. There's a couple guys that are great personalities, as I think about it, that come to mind, like a Deion Dawkins and Isaiah McKenzie's, right? There's some guys that are the glue. They're the guys that keep things light that you need on a team because they're going to bring everything closer together. And I mentioned those two guys, but I think we got a handful of them on the team, which is why if you watch the Buffalo Bills games, man, you see everybody celebrating on the sidelines. You see them celebrating after special teams plays. That's because of the guys that are in the locker room, man. And there's a special group in there. And as you can see, the coaching staff and the front office did their best to keep those guys together. So hopefully we see a repeat of that this season.
Mm-hmm. So a couple more things here before we let you go. So the next question here, I know that you have a role, but would you consider, like, for example, if a coaching staff leaves, or would you consider being on the coaching staff of the Bills at some point in the future?
No, man. Coaching is not something I see in my future. Although I'm coached by trade, I was a performance trainer. I trained a lot of athletes from Olympians all the way down to high school, in between my contracts and whatnot. But although I love it, I'm going to leave that on the youth camps and coaching kids and all that stuff, man. That's just not an area I want to go into. I like the space that I'm in. I love dealing with our former players. I love dealing on the business side of the NFL and seeing how we can improve the game, how we can improve the league, how we can make it better than we found it. That's my intention. That's my goal. And, I'm going to keep working until we raise the levels and again, year over year.
Are you staying in shape? If someone needs to call you to play, are you ready? Because it's something that.
Man, look, bro. I pulled a hamstring coming up the steps of this interview, man.
Oh my God.
Hold on. But we know what happened in Denver this year, right? It's not something you want to happen, but all the quarterbacks get COVID and somebody needs to step up.
Yeah.
If a situation comes in, maybe it's the quarterback. You got to step up. Are you completing more passes than interceptions?
Man, no, I'm certainly not playing quarterback. That's for sure. Man, it's funny you say that. Our offensive coordinator is Brian Dable, who's from my hometown right here in Buffalo and West Seneca. And, he'll catch me walking down the hallway one day, man, JK, you sure you don't want to come back? Man? You sure we could use some red zone hype, man? You sure? You sure? I said, Days, man, you about 4 or 5 years too late, man. I'm not trying. I don't think people realize what type of shape NFL athletes are really in, man. To be at that when you're at that place, because the level of training, not only physically but mentally, that you put yourself in, the condition that you are in at that time, man. There's levels, put it that way. And so, you could walk around and look like you're fit and in shape, but you're nowhere near what these guys are able to do on a daily basis and take 60, 70, 80 reps a game. It's just, there's levels to it, man. So ask anybody, they'll tell you, ask any former player that still might be in shape. He'll be like, man, look, no, it's not that simple. It's not that simple.
People use a Tom Brady card on you?
Say that again?
Do people use a Tom Brady card on you that he's 43 and he's still playing?
Oh man, no. Look. Now I'm not saying you can't maintain.
I'm just messing with you.
I'm not saying you can't maintain that, right? But when you're not getting Tom Brady checks every week, you ain't got the motivation to get up and go do everything that you need to that level.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's funny, man. Yeah.
But the last two things here before we let you go, we're all of us. Our team is part of the Hugh Jackson Foundation. Obviously, former NFL coach. He's trying to get back into coaching, but really focus on this foundation. We're ambassadors for them, helping them to help prevent human trafficking and making sure the community is safe, making sure the kids make the right choices in their lives. So I'm going to send you the page after this so you can check it out. We're really grateful to be part of it, the Hugh Jackson Foundation, and it's a good thing to be part of, and they're really inspiring. So I'm going to send that to you after this. And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now?
Thank you. We got a huge medical corridor right here in Buffalo, New York, with some massive hospitals, children's hospitals, research centers. So when I mentioned that the Bills were a silver lining earlier, and it really was, because it gave a lot of our first responders something to look forward to each week and to keep everybody going. So thank you. We appreciate you. We know that we're still not through this thing yet, but your service does not go unnoticed. So thank you.
Well said. And there it is. That wraps up episode 722 with former NFL player Jeremy Kelly, now works with the Buffalo Bills. I just want to say thank you for joining us today. It's truly an honor. We would love to have you back as a returning guest so you can meet the whole team. But keep doing it. Keep doing a great job with the Bills. And we're going to stay connected. And you had that. The one thing I like about your career, you had the underdog story. That's what I love about players. It's not only about where they came from; it's about how hard they work and where they finish. And you're that player right there, underdog player. So I just want to say, keep up the great work, and you and your family stay safe.
You got it. You as well, fellas. I love it. Keep the work going, man.
Yeah, we got more to come.
Having me on.
Yep. All right.
All right.